Chardonnay True Crime fans, welcome back to another episode of Chardonnay True Crime. I'm your host, Dakota. With me, as always, is the lovely Kate.
That's me.
That is her. And tonight we are going to complete our Ted Bundy episodes with the shocking conclusion. I'm so funny.
Gasp.
And I do want to, before we get started, I do want to say, starting for the month of October, we will not be doing episodes on Sundays. This is because I am starting a new job, starting this week, starting tomorrow, actually. Yeah, I know. It's exciting. I'm really excited to go out and start working again. I have missed having a job, like, so bad. Like a job that I have to go to, you know?
Yeah.
I've missed leaving the house.
Yeah, it's like I haven't gone to work for almost a week just to be with my family with all this stuff. And I'm just like, I'm bored.
Right? No, I get it. I really do. So yeah, so I'm going to be starting a new job. I'm going to be working at No Vacancy in Hollywood. They are going to be opening it up as a restaurant and a Nightmare Before Christmas theme. So I will be working there for the next month, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, until I'm going to be hostessing there. So it's going to be fun.
Just for the foreseeable future?
For the month of October.
Okay.
Yeah. Or unless they decide to like open it up longer, in which case I guess we'll see. But yeah, for the month of October, I will be working in Hollywood at No Vacancy, and that'll be interesting. Except of course the day that you come up and we go out to Vegas. Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
So the 18th we will not, I won't be at No Vacancy, but yeah, all the other days, all the other Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays in October, that's where I'll be. That'll be fun. I'm really excited. And I've been working on my costume. I got to finish that tonight because I start tomorrow at 1.
I think that's funny. You go into work before I do tomorrow.
I know, right? What time do you go in tomorrow?
Like 3.
3 to what?
I think like 9:30. So not a super long shift, but.
Wow. No, but it's longer than, well, it's about the same as my shift, actually. I'm supposed to go in at 12:30, but they have a wig that I need to wear, and I need to go in and style it first. They wanted me to buy all this stuff to work there, and like this whole costume and everything. And I was just like, I'm not spending money on a wig. So I sent them an Amazon link to a wig, and I was just like, if you buy this, I can style it. And they were like, okay, and bought it. So I was like,
all right, there we go.
I don't have to spend money on a wig. Yay.
Wigs aren't cheap, man.
I found one for like $20 on Amazon, but even then I wasn't spending $20 on a wig. I was just like, no, thank you. They can do that. That's fine.
What is happening right now? Fucking hell. There we go.
You are a mess. What else?
My messenger like logged me out for some reason, and I'm just like, wait, but I need the notes.
Yeah, wait a minute. Actually, here's an interesting thing. I got a letter from the IRS, and they were like, what did they say? They were like, apply for this like $1,500 thing like right now. And I was just like, all right. So I applied for it today, and it's like a stimulus thing. So I applied for it today, and I got approved. So I should be getting like $1,500 soon. Thank God.
That's cool.
Yeah. Can use a chunk of it to pay off people that I owe money to.
That's always good. God.
Yeah,
it is. I still need to pay my dad back. I need to finish paying my dad back, and then like we're also officially going to start like chipping in for bills and stuff. So it's like, hey, can I have some more money, please?
Well, it's a good thing that you just got that raise at work.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then this week we actually have a cool thing for like starting Sunday, I think, and then like through January, just like for the holiday season, we get everybody gets a $1 raise.
Hey, there you go. That's nice. That'll be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
That's better than a $0 raise.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's get started with Ted Bundy. Are you ready?
Yeah, everyone's watching sports ball right now and they're being so goddamn loud.
Well, if it helps, I can't hear them at all, so that means the audience can't hear them.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Not that we have an audience right now. There's 0 people watching.
That's okay.
Fine.
Anyone who shows up can just catch up. It's fine.
Yep, exactly. It's fine. So in August 1974, Bundy received a second apprenticeship for acceptance from the University of Utah Law School and moved to Salt Lake City, leaving Colfer in Seattle. While he called Colfer often, he dated at least a dozen other women. When he studied the first-year law curriculum a second time, he was devastated to find out that the other students had some intellectual capacity that he did not. He found the classes completely incomprehensible. It was a great disappointment to me, he said. A new string of homicides began the following month, including 2 that would remain undiscovered until Bundy confessed to them shortly before his execution. On September 2nd, he raped and strangled a still unidentified hitchhiker in Idaho and then disposed of the remains immediately in a nearby river, or returned the next day to photograph and dismember the corpse. On October 2nd, he seized 16-year-old Nancy Wilcox in Holiday, a suburb of Salt Lake City. Her remains were buried near Capitol Reef National Park, some 200 miles south of Holiday, but were never found. On October 18th, Melissa Ann Smith, the 17-year-old daughter of the police chief of Midvale, which is another Salt Lake City, disappeared after leaving a pizza parlor. Her nude body was found in a nearby mountain area 9 days later. Post-mortem examination indicated that she may have remained alive for up to 7 days following her disappearance.
Jeez.
And on October 31st, Laura Ann Amy, also 17, disappeared 25 miles south in Lehigh after leaving a cafe just after midnight. Her naked body was found by hitchhikers 9 miles to the northeast in American Fork Canyon on Thanksgiving Day. Both women had been beaten, raped, sodomized, and strangled with nylon stockings. And years later, Bundy described his postmortem rituals with the corpses of Smith and Amy, including hair shampooing and application of makeup. Just imagining Bundy like shampooing their hair. Just, oh, you've had such a long day, right? Tell me all about your day. Oh, what did Mike do? Oh my God, that Mike, what a jerk.
And like, I feel like, I don't know, I may be, I'm not an expert about how like bodies decompose, but I feel like after you like a person dies, like it doesn't take very long for the hair to like just like stop being part of the body. Like if you mess with it, it just like falls out basically. But that might be like further down the line in decomposition.
That's much further down the line in decomposition. Your hair actually continues to grow for a little while after you die. Or it doesn't technically grow. It doesn't technically grow, but it looks like it grows. Because what happens is when your skin stops retaining moisture and it dries, the skin will like go back and it'll appear like your hair is longer, but it's really just the hair that's been inside the follicle, like waiting to come out. But hair, okay, that I heard.
Yeah.
But no, hair doesn't fall out super easily after death. Like you find skeletons that's like mummies and stuff that still have hair attached.
Oh. Well, I guess
Yeah,
I just don't know enough about corpses.
Yeah, so there's that frozen mummy girl. Hang on. And I'm not going to show the full picture of her, but I am going to show like a side picture of her. Just so you know, Kate. But yeah, this is actually a real mummy. Oop, that is not what I wanted. That's not what I want. There we go. I don't want that.
It's just like, excuse me.
So this is a real This is a real Inca mummy who was found in a cave in the Alps, and she still has a full head of hair.
Wow.
I know, right? She's actually one of the most well-preserved mummies that we know of.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can, like, if you look at a picture of her face, she looks like she's just sleeping. She's so well preserved. I'm going to pull that up. Here, I'm going to pull that up so you can see, because it's actually really interesting.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
5th grade Kate is like losing her shit right now, because like I was like obsessed with like mummification. Like, you know how like everyone when they're in like 5th and 6th grade, like they're either obsessed with like dragons or like ancient Egypt or ancient Greece. For me, it was ancient Egypt. So like all of that, like I did like whole project. I did a whole project about like mummification when I was in like 6th grade, and it was just like, it was my shit. So
isn't that amazing though?
That is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. So she was discovered, I think, in the 90s. But like she was so well preserved that her stomach still had contents in it. Like there were still stomach contents that they could like
gross.
They could take samples and see what it is that she ate before she died.
That is very fascinating, but also disgusting.
Oh yeah, absolutely disgusting. But anyway, so no, the hair stays for a while is my point.
My God, they're being so loud.
So anyways. So in the afternoon of November 8th, Bundy approached 18-year-old telephone operator Carol DeRanche at Fashion Place Mall in Murray, less than a mile away from the Midvale restaurant where Melissa Smith was last seen. He identified himself as Officer Roseland of the Murray Police Department and told DeRanche that someone had attempted to break into her car. He asked her to accompany him to the station to file a complaint. When DeRanche pointed out to Bundy that he was driving on a road that did not lead to the police station, he immediately pulled to the shoulder and attempted to handcuff her. During the struggle, he inadvertently fastened both handcuffs to the same wrist, and DeRanche was able to open the car door and escape. Later that evening, Deborah Jean Kent, a 17-year-old student at Viewmont High School in Bountiful, 20 minutes north of Murray, disappeared after leaving a theater production at the school to pick up her brother. The school's drama department teacher and a student told the police that a stranger had asked each of them to come out to the parking lot to identify a car. Another student later saw the same man pacing in the rear of the auditorium, and the drama teacher spotted him again shortly before the end of the play. Outside the auditorium, investigators found a key that unlocked the handcuffs removed from Carol DeRanche's wrist. In November, Elizabeth Kulfer called King County Police a second time after reading that there were young women disappearing in towns surrounding Salt Lake City. Detective Randy Hergesheimer of the Major Crimes Division interviewed her in detail, and by then, Bundy had risen considerably on the King County hierarchy of suspicion, but the Lake Sammamish witness considered the most The Lake Sammamish witness, who is considered the most reliable by detectives, failed to identify him from a photo lineup. In December, Kulfer called the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office and repeated her suspicions. Bundy's name was added to their list of suspects, but at the time, no credible forensic evidence linked him to the Utah crimes. In January 1975, the same month and year that my mother was born, so this is around the same time that my mom is born.
So she remembers it, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Bundy returned to Seattle after his final exams and spent a week with Kupfer, who did not tell him that she had reported him to the police on 3 occasions.
Ooh,
She
that was
made
bad.
plans to visit him in Salt Lake in August. You good?
Bad sip.
Okay. So, in 1975, Bundy shifted much of his criminal activity eastward from his base in Utah to Colorado. On January 12th, a 23-year-old registered nurse named Karen Eileen Campbell disappeared while walking down a well-lit hallway between the elevator and her room at the Wildwood Inn, which is now known as the Wildwood Lodge, in Snowmass Village, 400 miles southeast of Salt Lake City.
You guys
Her
say
nude body was-
Colorado.
I'm a giraffe! Her nude body was found a month later next to a dirt road just outside the resort. She had been killed by blows to her head from a blunt instrument that left distinctive linear grooved depressions on her skull. Her body also bore deep cuts, sharp weapon. Oh God, this guy is so terrible. But on March 15th, 100 miles east of Snowmass. What?
I was just gonna say, I think it's interesting that like it's like he'll stick with like one thing for a second and then like he's all over the place. Like he's so inconsistent, and that's very unusual.
It is very unusual. And it's chilling that he was able to be that inconsistent for that. I mean, honestly, I think that that's part of why it took so long to catch him, is because he was so inconsistent for so long.
Yeah, definitely. Like if he had been more consistent, then like it would have been easier to, pick up on like, hey, you guys noticing a pattern here? But like for this, it's pretty much just like, I mean, a couple of them were strangled with stockings, I guess, but like, and like they're all college students, but like, that's all we got.
Aside from that, not really. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like, what can you do when there's nothing to work with?
Yeah, exactly. So on March 15th, 100 miles northeast of Snowmass, Vail ski instructor Julie Cunningham, who was 26, disappeared while walking from her apartment to a dinner date with a friend. Ugh, remember dinner dates with friends?
Oh my God, right? I had a
Bundy
lunch date with a friend last week, and that was like the nicest thing in the universe in like forever.
Well, you and I are going to go to Vegas in a couple weeks, and we'll have fun.
I'm excited. Are you excited?
I'm excited. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Hopefully by then I'll have my $1,200 from the government.
Yeah, never been to Vegas. I'm looking forward to it.
Or 1,500, whatever the fuck it is, that amount of money. But anyways, Bundy later told Colorado investigators that he approached Cunningham on crutches and asked her to help carry his ski boots to his car, where he clubbed, handcuffed her, and then assaulted her and strangled her at a secondary site near Rifle, which was 90 miles west of Vail. Weeks later, he made the 6-hour drive to revisit her remains.
Jesus Christ.
The compulsion to like go back and see, just the compulsion to go back and see those bodies is just so foreign to me. Like I mean to drive that far just to go see your handiwork. I just don't get it.
Yeah, seriously.
But Denise Lynn Oliverson, who was 25, disappeared near the Utah-Colorado border in Grand Junction on April 6th while riding her bike to her parents' house. Her bike and sandals were found under a viaduct near a railroad bridge. On May 6th, Bundy lured 12-year-old Lynette Dawn Culver from Alameda Junior High in Pocatello, Idaho, 160 miles north of Salt Lake City. He drowned and then possibly sexually assaulted her in his hotel room before disposing of her body in a river north of Pocatello, possibly the Snake River. What?
Sorry, my phone's ringing. The hospital's calling. My mom will get it in a second. How do I do this?
Do what?
Turn the sound off.
No idea.
Oh, I found it. There we go.
There you go. Do you just eat it?
Yep.
Anyways, what was the last thing you heard?
Disposing of her body in Pocatello.
Yeah, possibly in the Snake River. An outdoor hall. Carolyn Campbell disappeared while walking down it was a very bright, like a very bright hallway outside of like a hotel room, you know?
Mm-hmm.
In mid-May, 3 of Bundy's Washington State's DES co-workers, including Carol Ann Boone, visited him in Salt Lake City and stayed for a week in his apartment. Bundy subsequently spent a week in Seattle with Kulpfer in early June, and they discussed getting married the following Christmas. Again,
Kulpfer or Klopfer?
Clofer, maybe it is Clofer.
It's an interesting name. I had a teacher with a name that was like very similarly spelled.
Okay. Again, Clofer made no mention of her multiple discussions with the King County Police and Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office. Bundy disclosed neither his ongoing relationship with Boone nor a concurrent romance with a Utah law student known in various accounts as Kim Andrews or Sharon Auer.
Those are two very different names.
I know, right? It's so weird how they do that. It really is. But like, seriously, I just don't understand. It's not like he actually looked like it's not like he actually looked like Zac Efron. Like,
he really didn't.
Let's be honest.
At all.
He really didn't. Because like, I mean, look at this fucking guy.
It's like he had a square face and brown hair. That's it. Those are the similarities.
That's it. That's all we got. This fucking nerd.
It's like, that's not a bad picture of him. So like, that's a picture where I can kind of be like, okay, like he's kind of handsome, but like not like he's not like hot or anything. He's just like
no, he's really not.
Like, he's like barely conventionally attractive.
Okay, hang on a second. I got a picture to share with you then. Hang on. This is a good one. This is a good picture. It's right here. He's so creepy looking.
Yeah. Like, quite frankly, you just look at that guy, like, that guy fucking did it. Whatever. Like you see this picture and, like, you don't even know what this person did. He's fucking guilty. I don't care who you are. That guy's fucking guilty. He done it.
I don't know who he is. I don't know what they saying he did, but he done it. We been new. We been new.
He done did it.
He done did it. We been knew it. So anyways, on June 28th, Susan Curtis vanished from the campus of Brigham Young University in Provo, 45 miles south of Salt Lake City. Curtis's murder became Bundy's last confession, tape recorded moments before he entered the execution chamber. The bodies of Wilcox, Kent, Cunningham, Oliverson, Culver, and Curtis were never recovered.
Boy, all of the
yeah, right. Because
all the cuz,
right? Seriously. Yeah. I actually have a video of of a confession that he did. So we'll share that later. We'll listen to that in a bit, but it'll be interesting to hear his voice. But
I've never heard his voice before. He's not somebody who I've ever really given the time to like look into enough to like find out what he sounded like or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let me pull this open. Let's just give this we'll get to that. Because it is an interesting video, but we'll get there because it's not quite there in the story yet. But in August or September 1975, Bundy was baptized into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, although he was not an active participant in services and ignored much church restrictions. He would later be excommunicated by the LDS Church following the 1976 kidnapping conviction. And when asked his religious preferences at his arrest, Bundy answered Methodist, the religion of his childhood. In Washington state, investigators were still struggling to analyze the Pacific Northwest murder spree that had ended as abruptly as it had begun. In an effort to make sense of an overwhelming mass of data, they resulted to the then innovated strategy of compiling a database. They used the King County payroll computer, a huge, primitive machine by contemporary standards, but the only one available for their use. After inputting the many lists they had compiled, classmates and acquaintances of each victim, Volkswagen owners named Ted, known sex offenders, and so on, they queried the computer for coincidences. Out of thousands of names, 26 turned up on 4 lists, and one was Ted Bundy.
What a wild fucking concept, just like that this was like a new thing. And like obviously like at some point everything was new. So like
yeah.
But it's just
like imagine going through and just like doing Control F just to find like similarities or something, you know?
Yeah, right.
Oh, it just reminds me of that bit on Big Fat Quiz where it's like all those guys that have to like turn on the computer. Do you remember that one?
No, I can't remember that one.
It was like an old video of like it took like 8 people or something to turn on a computer, and Jimmy Carr was like, all right, now that you've seen all these guys doing this thing, what do you think they're doing? And no,
I do remember that. I remember that now. Okay.
Yeah, and then everyone said it was Richard Iowati's birthday. Richard Iowati just sitting there like, am I a fucking joke to you people? Yes, Richard. The answer is yes, and we love you for it.
Yes, you are all joking to each other. That is part of the game. That's how it be.
That is the game. It is a life goal of mine to be on Big Fat Quiz.
That would be fantastic.
That is a life goal. At some point, I will get so big that they will put me on Big Fat Quiz.
And when that happens, you obviously have to bring me with you.
Obviously.
It's in our friendship contract.
Oh, okay. Do we have a contract for that now?
I mean, we do have that one contract where, like, you get to slap me in the face if I go to my family for advice before you.
And yet you still do that.
Well, I guess you owe me a bunch of slaps in the face.
I'll be slapping a tree in preparation.
All right, Barney, thank you. Oh my God, are you gonna cry? No. You're gonna cry.
But detectives also manually compiled a list of their 100 best suspects, and Bundy was on that list as well. He was literally at the top of the pile of suspects when word came from Utah of his arrest. On August 16th, 1975, Bundy was arrested by Utah Highway Patrol Officer Bob Hayward in Granger, which is another Salt Lake City suburb. Hayward had observed Bundy cruising a residential area at the pre-dawn hours. Bundy fled to the area at high speed after seeing the patrol car and the officer searched the car after he noticed that the Volkswagen's front passenger seat had been removed and placed on the rear seats. He found a ski mask, a second mask fashioned from pantyhose, a crowbar, handcuffs, trash bag, a coil of rope, an ice pick, and other items initially assumed to be burglary tools. Bundy explained that the ski mask was for skiing. He had found the handcuffs in a dumpster, and the rest were common household items. However, Detective Jerry Thompson remembered a similar suspect and car description from the November 1974 DeRanch kidnapping, which matched Bundy's names from Clofer. What did we say? Clofer?
I think it's Clofer.
Clofer. All right, from Clofer's December 1974 phone call.
Ow!
And
Please continue.
You good? In a search of Bundy's apartment, police found a guide to Colorado ski resorts with a check mark by the Wildwood Inn and a brochure that advertised the Viewmont High School play in Bountiful, where Deborah Kent had disappeared. The police did not have sufficient evidence to detain Bundy, and he was released on his own recognizance. Bundy later said that searchers missed a hidden collection of Polaroid photographs of his victims, which he destroyed after he was released. Salt Lake City police placed Bundy on a 24-hour surveillance, and Thompson flew to Seattle with 2 other detectives to interview Clofer. She told them that in the year prior to Bundy's move to Utah, she had discovered objects she couldn't understand in her house and in Bundy's apartment. These items included crutches, a bag of plaster of Paris that he admitted stealing from a medical supply house, and a meat cleaver that was never used for cooking. Additional objects include surgical gloves, an oriental knife, and a wood case that he kept in his glove compartment, and a sack full of women's clothing. Bundy was perpetually in debt, and Clofer suspected that he had stolen almost everything of significant value that he possessed. When she confronted him over a new TV and stereo, he warned her, "If you tell anyone, I'll break your fucking neck."
What a guy.
Yeah. She said Bundy became very upset whenever she considered cutting her hair, which was long and parted in the middle. She would wake up in the middle of the night sometimes to find him under the bed covers with a flashlight examining her body.
That's so fucking weird.
I don't like that. I don't like that one little bit.
Examining how, sir? Like just looking, or like examining? Like, I feel yucky. I don't like it.
I'm sure it wasn't like medical grade examination, thankfully, but
But I would not be surprised if it was intrusive examination.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised about that. I really wouldn't. Good point. He kept a lug wrench taped halfway up the handle in the trunk of his car, another Volkswagen Beetle, which he often borrowed for protection. The detectives confirmed that Bundy had not been with Clofer on any of the nights during which the Pacific Northwest victims had disappeared, nor on the day that Ott and Nausland were abducted. Shortly thereafter, Clofer was interviewed by Seattle homicide detective Kathy McChesney and learned of the existence of Stephanie Brooks and her brief engagement to Bundy around Christmas 1973. In September, Bundy sold his Volkswagen Beetle to a Midvale teenager. Utah police impounded it, and FBI technicians dismantled and searched it. They found hair matching samples obtained from Carolyn Campbell's body. I gotta say, that poor teenager, like he's like, oh fuck yeah, I just got this like bug for like $25. This is awesome. This guy sold it to me for like hella cheap. This is so great. And then the cops show up and they're like, hey, did you buy this car?
Yes.
Yeah, we're taking the car.
But I just got it.
We're the police.
Do the things I say. I'm a cop.
We're the police. We are taking the car.
oh god, I was trying to think of a joke about the band Police, and like nothing came to me.
You tried. But later, they also identified hair strands that were microscopically indistinguishable from those of Melissa Smith and Carol DeRanche. FBI lab specialist Robert Neal concluded that the presence of hair strands in one car matching 3 different victims who had never met one another would be a coincidence of mind-boggling rarity. On October 2nd, detectives put Bundy into a lineup. DeRanche immediately identified him as Officer Roseland, and eyewitnesses from Bountiful recognized him as a stranger at the high school auditorium. There was insufficient evidence to link him to Deborah Kent, whose body was never found, though a skeletal fragment found near the school was later identified as Kent's by DNA analysis. There was more than enough evidence to charge him with aggravated kidnapping and attempted criminal assault in the DeRanche case. He was freed on $15,000 bail paid for by his parents and spent most of the time between indictment and trial in Seattle, living in Clofer's house. Seattle police had insufficient evidence to charge him in the Pacific Northwest murders, but kept him under close surveillance. When Ted and I stepped out on the porch to go somewhere, Clofer wrote, so many unmarked police cars started up that it sounded like the beginning of the Indy 500. I thought you guys were supposed to be like, quietly tailing. Like, were you supposed to be that obvious? Just like, he's here!
Just, all right, who gets to be the first tail? It was a race to see who could tail him the closest.
Yeah, right. Seriously. Everyone's like cutting each other off, like smashing into each other. Ted and Clover just like, they okay?
Hello?
You guys good? Ted's just giggling the entire time.
All the cops. We got your ass, Bundy! We're watching you!
Yeah, I know! Just watch this! Pulls into a grocery store. Aw, come on. But I was antagonizing the police. Can't we just go around the block a couple times? Her? No, I need tampons, damn it.
Him? Ew.
Her. You're so interested in my body. There you go. I have a period. Tampon. But in November, 3 principal Bundy investigators, Jerry Thompson from Utah, Robert Keppel from Washington, and Michael Fisher from Colorado, met in Aspen, Colorado, and exchanged information with 30 detectives and prosecutors from 5 states. While officials left the meeting, later known as the Aspen Summit, convinced that Bundy was the murderer they sought, they agreed that more evidence would be needed before he could be charged with any of the murders. In February 1976, Bundy stood trial for the DeRanche kidnapping. On the advisory of his attorney, John O'Connell, Bundy waived his right to a jury due to the negative publicity surrounding the case. After a 4-day bench trial and a weekend of deliberation, Judge Stuart Hanson Jr. found him guilty of kidnapping and assault.
Oh, good job.
June, he was...
Good job.
What?
Good job.
Yeah. Good job. Good job, guys. Good job. Good job. Good game. Good game. In June, he was sentenced to 1 to 15 years in the Utah State Prison. In October, he was found hiding in bushes in the prison yard carrying an escape kit, road maps, airline schedules, and a social security card, and for that, spent several weeks in solitary confinement. I'm just imagining Bundy, him crouching. And one of the guards is just like, Bundy, what are you doing? And he's like, nothing. Masturbating? Nothing. Like, Bundy, come on, get out of there.
Just nudges the bushes, just come on, let's go.
Bundy, I'll be right out. 5 more minutes.
Guard like shoves his beating stick in there, just like, come on, get out here.
Get out of there. Bundy, just give me just a minute. He's like trying to hide something. The guard just like yoinks him out by like the scruff of his neck. He's just got like a pile of papers, and he's just like, hi.
It's like a cartoon. The guard's like holding him up like off the ground by like the back of his shirt.
Yeah, and he's just, hi.
Just, what you got there, Bundy?
Nothing. Definitely not an escape plan. If that's what you're thinking, it's porn.
Really? Why does your porn have a social security number on it?
I'm kinky.
I've got an identity theft kink.
Yeah, I have a kink for identity theft, and also because, yeah, that's why. So yeah.
Yeah, you get your rocks off to road maps. Is that what this is?
Yeah. They look like veins. I mean, not veins. Normal things. Penises.
Drops him. Oh God, you're gay?
Yep, it's all gay porn. That's all I have here. Gay porn.
Oh God, we're throwing you in solitary. Yeet.
No. Can I bring my gay porn with me?
No.
Oh. Later that month, Colorado authorities charged him with Carolyn Campbell's murder. And after a period of resistance, he waived extradition proceedings and was transferred to Aspen in January 1977. On June 7th, 1977, Bundy was transported 40 miles from the Garfield County Jail in Glenwood Springs to Picton County Courthouse in Aspen for a preliminary hearing. He had elected to serve as his own attorney and as such was excused by the judge from wearing handcuffs or leg shackles.
Ooh,
During a recess...
Oh, there we are.
Okay, page 5. During a recess, he asked to visit the courthouse's law library to research his case. While shielded from his guard's view behind a bookcase, he opened a window and jumped to the ground from the second story, injuring his right ankle as he landed. After shedding an outer layer of clothing...
Balls.
What?
The fucking balls on this guy.
The audacity. The audacity.
Seriously, just like, I got this. Bye.
Yeet.
Yeets himself out a window.
He said yeet, and the guards are just like, hey, Bundy, no throwing books. Just quietly from outside. Sorry.
I'm sorry, you've thrown off the Emperor's groove. Sorry.
After shedding an outer layer of clothing, he walked through Aspen as roadblocks were being set up on its outskirts and then hiked southward onto Aspen Mountain. Near its summit, he broke into a hunting cabin and stole food, clothing, and a rifle. The following day, he left the cabin and continued south towards the town of Crested Butte, but became lost in the forest. For 2 days, he wandered aimlessly on the mountain, missing 2 trails that led downward into his intended destination. And on June 10th, I know, right? On June 10th, he broke into a camping trailer on Maroon Lake, 10 miles south of Aspen, taking a food and ski parka, but instead of continuing southward, he went back north toward Aspen, eluding roadblocks and search parties along the way. The 3 days later, he stole a car at the edge of Aspen Golf Course. Cold, sleep deprived, and in constant pain from his sprained ankle, he drove back into Aspen, where 2 police officers noticed his car weaving in and out of its lane and pulled him over. He had been a fugitive for 6 days. In the car were maps of the mountain area and around Aspen the prosecutors were using to demonstrate the location of Karen Campbell's body. As his own attorney, Bundy had right of discovery and indicating that his escape was not a spontaneous act, but instead had been planned. Back in jail in Glenwood Springs, Bundy ignored the advice of friends and legal advisors to stay put. The case against him was already weak at best and deteriorating steadily as pretrial motions consistently resolved in his favor, and significant bits of evidence were ruled inadmissible. A more rational defendant might have realized that he stood a good chance of acquittal, and that beating the murder charge in Colorado would have been probably pretty fucking easy, you know? And he only had about a year and a half left to serve on the DeRanche conviction. But I mean, he was a fucking idiot. Had he just waited it out, he could have been a free man. But instead, this fucking idiot, Ted Bundy, assembled a new escape plan. He acquired a detailed floor plan of the jail and a hacksaw blade from other inmates and accumulated $500 in cash smuggled in over a 6-month period. He later said, by visitors, Carol Ann Boone in particular. During the evenings, while other prisoners were being showered, while they were showering, he sawed a hole about 1 square foot between the steel reinforcing bars in his cell ceiling, and having lost 35 pounds, was able to wriggle through it into the crawl space above.
God, what is this? Fucking Prison Break?
Seriously. So, in the weeks that followed, he made a series of practice runs exploring the space. Multiple reports from an informant of moving within the ceiling during the night were not investigated. And by late 1977, Bundy's impending trial had become a cause célèbre in the small town of Aspen, and Bundy filed for a motion of a change of venue to Denver. On December 23rd, the Aspen trial judge granted the request, but to Colorado Springs, where the juries had historically been hostile to murder suspects. On the night of December 30th, with most of the jail staff on Christmas break and nonviolent prisoners on furlough with their families, Bundy piled books and files in his bed, covered them with a blanket to simulate his sleeping body, because apparently he was a very square and angled sleeping body, is what I'm gathering from this.
Yeah, he just looked all like pointy and sharp and like really random spots.
Jagged. Really jagged. They're just like, oh yeah, you see that pile of books? That looks just like Ted Bundy. Hey Bundy, you look like a pile of books. Fucking nerd.
Bundy, huh? Books, you say?
You don't say.
They were really just trying to insult him and calling him a nerd, but whoops, he used it for his escape plan.
Yeah, exactly. But he put the blanket over the pile of books and papers, climbed into the crawl space, and broke through the ceiling into the apartment of the chief jailer, who was out for the evening with his wife, and changed into street clothes from the jailer's closet and then walked out the front door to freedom. The fucking balls.
Out the front door? Like, did nobody see him? Did nobody recognize him? Like, in the entire prison? Like, what in the fuck?
You know,
how does that happen?
His informant is sitting in his cell looking out the window, and he's just like, hey, guards, Ted Bundy is walking away.
Just what? No, Ted Bundy doesn't
What are you, some sort of snitch? Yes, I am.
the guards. Don't you know what they do to snitches in here? Dumbass. Walks away.
His cellmate just heard you're a snitch.
And he's just like, not on you.
You know what they say about snitches?
Snitches get kisses?
That's fucking right.
Fun fact,
but
everyone in the prison Ted Bundy was in was actually gay.
Yeah. Except for the guards. After stealing a car, Bundy drove eastward out of Glenwood Springs, but soon the car broke down in the mountains of Interstate 70. A passing motorist gave him a ride to Vail, 60 miles to the east. And from there, he caught a bus to Denver, where he boarded a morning flight to Chicago. And in Glenwood Springs, the jail's skeleton crew did not discover the escape until noon on December 31st, more than 17 hours later. And by then, Bundy was already in Chicago.
Wow. Wow. Y'all. That's embarrassing.
Hey, Bundy's looking kind of pointy and jagged under his blanket. Do you think we should go and like check on that?
I mean, he usually kind of looks like that. We've always said he looks like a stack of books.
I mean, you're right, but I don't know. I feel like we should check on this. Shouldn't we go? Let's just wake him up and see what happens. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could wake him up.
Someone else down the hall. Hey, you guys, did you see that the vending machine is giving out free candy right now?
The vending machine's giving out free candy? We'll wake him up later.
Yeah, fuck that guy. We need some free candy.
We got to go before they run out of Skittles.
Motherfucking Skittles! But from Chicago, Bundy traveled by train to Ann Arbor, Michigan, where he was present in a local tavern on January 2nd. 5 days later, he stole a car and drove to Atlanta, where he boarded a bus and arrived in Tallahassee, Florida on the morning of January 8th. He rented a room under the alias Chris Hagen at the Holiday Inn near Florida State University campus. Bundy later said that he initially resolved to find legitimate employment and refrain from further criminal activity, knowing that he could probably remain free and undetected in Florida infinitely as long as he did not attract the attention of police. But his lone job application at a construction site had to be abandoned when he was asked to produce identification. He reverted to his old habits of shoplifting and stealing credit cards from women's wallets left in shopping carts. In the early hours of January 15th, 1978, 1 week after his arrival in Tallahassee, Bundy entered FSU's Chi Omega sorority house through a rear door with a faulty locking mechanism. Beginning at about 2:45 a.m., he bludgeoned Margaret Bowman, 21, with a piece of oak firewood as she slept, then garroted her with a nylon stocking. The girl, remember, that's what happened to JonBenet.
Yep.
That's where they have to like rope around, and then they have the piece of wood, and the more they twist the wood, the more it tightens around their neck.
Yep, I remember.
I'm just making sure. He then entered the bedroom of 20-year-old Lisa Levy and beat her unconscious, strangled her. Oh God, you are not going to like this one. Tore off one of her nipples.
Ha!
Bit deeply into her left buttock and sexually assaulted her with a hair mist bottle.
Jesus Christ.
In an adjoining bedroom, he attacked Kathy Kleiner, breaking her jaw and delacerating her shoulder, and Karen Chandler, who suffered a concussion, broken jaw, loss of teeth, and a crushed finger. Chandler and Kleiner survived the attack. Kleiner later attributed their survival to automobile headlights illuminating the interior of the room and frightening away the attacker. Tallahassee detectives later determined that the 4 attacks took place in a total of less than 15 minutes, within earshot of more than 30 witnesses who heard nothing. After leaving the sorority house, Bundy broke into a basement apartment 8 blocks away and attacked FSU student Cheryl Thomas, dislocating her shoulder and fracturing her jaw and skull in 5 places. She was left with permanent deafness and equilibrium damage that ended her dance career.
Oh, that sucks.
I know. On Thomas's bed, police found a semen stain and a pantyhose mask containing 2 hairs similar to Bundy's in class and characteristic. On February 8th, Bundy drove 150 miles east to Jacksonville in a stolen FSU van. In a parking lot, he approached 14-year-old Leslie Parmenter, the daughter of Jacksonville Police Department's chief of detectives, identifying himself as Richard Burton, Fire Department, but retreated when Parmenter's older brother arrived and challenged him. That afternoon, he backtracked 60 miles west to Lake City. At Lake City Junior High School the following morning, 12-year-old Kimberly Diane Leach was summoned to her homeroom by a teacher to retrieve a forgotten purse, and she never returned. 7 weeks later, after an intensive search, her partially mummified remains were found in a pig farrowing shed in Cheyenne River State Park, 35 miles northwest of Lake City. She appeared to have been raped.
I think that's Swanee River.
Swanee, okay. She appeared to have been raped, with her underwear found near the body containing semen and killed by she was killed by violence to the neck with a knife. On February 12th, with insufficient cash to pay his overdue rent and a growing suspicion that police were closing in on him, Bundy stole a car and fled Tallahassee, driving westward across the Florida Panhandle. 3 days later, at around 1 a.m., he was stopped by Pensacola police officer David Lee near the Alabama state line after a wants and warrants check showed his Volkswagen Beetle was stolen. Of course he fucking stole a Beetle. Like, that's what he's comfortable with. He's like, oh, a fucking Beetle. Yeah, I'm going to take that. I love these things.
I know how to drive that. That's what I can do. I can handle a Beetle.
I swear by Beetles. They are the only car for me because of all the cars that I've stolen throughout the years, the Beetles have been my favorite.
I mean, do you know how many women I've killed in Beetles? Like, it's my comfort car.
It's my comfort place. It's my place. When he was told he was under arrest, Bundy kicked Lee's legs out from under him and took off running. Lee fired a warning shot, followed by a second round, gave chase, and tackled him. The two struggled over Lee's gun before the officer finally subdued and arrested Bundy. In the stolen vehicle were 3 sets of IDs belonging to female FSU students, 21 stolen credit cards, and a stolen television set. Also found were a pair of dark-rimmed non-prescription glasses and a pair of plaid slacks, later identified as the disguise worn by Richard Burton, Fire Department in Jacksonville. Here's a fucking imagine. Hi, Richard Burton, Fire Department.
Just, who does that? That's up there with Ted Mosby, architect. Just shut up, Barney.
Also, shut up, Ted. Not for that.
God,
just
always shut up, Ted. Always
just
shut
in
up,
general,
Ted.
shut up, Ted.
Just whatever you want to say, don't.
Yeah, just don't. Just stop. Just shh. Shh. As Lee transported his suspect to jail, unaware that he had just arrested one of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives, he heard Bundy say, "I wish you had killed me." I want to just really quickly. Real fast. Oh, God damn it. Picture said that it was going to be way bigger. Hang on. I gotta find a better one, because there's a really great poster of him that you can actually buy now, but it's a wanted poster from the FBI.
Ooh.
Yeah. Here we go. Here's one. This is from an auction, from where you could buy it at auction. But let me just pull that up real quick. So it says for auction use only, but for auction display only. But oh, God damn it, that's so small. I'm trying to find one that's better, like, size dimensions, because it's an interesting poster that they made up there. Okay, see what you did there, police. No. This one? Yeah, this one. Okay, stop. In the name of love. Sorry. All right, there we go. So this is original. This is the original wanted by the FBI, Theodore Robert Bundy. These are his fingerprints. My fingerprints kind of look like Ted Bundy's. That's weird. I got the same swoopies that he has.
I got like the spirals in the middle.
You got the spirals in the middle. I got the swoopies that Bundy has. So like,
I got a smaller screen, so I can't see it very well.
All right, so there's like swoopies right here. I'll send you this picture later, but there's like swoopies here, and then he has a spiral here, and he's got mostly swoopies. And for the record, I took a lot of forensic science in high school, so swoopies is actually the technical term.
Really?
No.
I was like, that doesn't sound right. But you were like so deadpan about that.
I was grinning.
Yeah, but like it was like proud. So I was like, oh, what?
Oh my God, Kate.
Oh my God, that was so dumb.
You good?
Oh fuck. Yeah, we're good.
You good to keep going? You good to keep going, dumbass?
Yeah. Oh shit, my phone turned off.
But whoops. All right. So, following a change of venue to Miami, Bundy stood by for the Chi Omega homicides and assaults in June 1979. Trials covered by 250 reporters from 5 continents and was the first to be televised nationally in the United States. Despite the presence of 5 court-appointed attorneys, Bundy again handled much of his own defense. From the beginning, he sabotaged the entire defense effort out of spite, distrust, and grandiose delusion, it was later written. Ted was facing murder charges with a possible death sentence, and all that mattered to him, apparently, was that he be in charge. According to Mike Minerva, a Tallahassee public defender and member of the defense team, a pretrial plea bargain was negotiated in which Bundy would plead guilty to killing Levi Bowman, and Leach in exchange for a firm 75-year prison sentence. Prosecutors were amenable to a deal by one account because prospects of losing at trial were very good. Bundy, on the other hand, saw the plea deal not only as a means of avoiding the death penalty, but also as a tactical move. He could enter his plea, then wait a few years for evidence to disintegrate or become lost and for witnesses to die, move on, or retract their testimony.
Pause 1 second. I think you need to scoot just a little bit closer to your computer if you can, because you keep getting like quiet and like just loud at like the beginning of your sentence. So you're getting like real soft.
Okay. This is as close as I can really get to my computer.
It's like I can hear you better now, but I think you might just need to be like stay like leaning a little closer to it. But
okay.
I was just having a hard time hearing you. Like I know what's going on because I'm reading this, but I feel like
feel like you don't need to keep explaining it. I'm understanding. Bundy, on the other hand, saw the plea deal not only as a means of avoiding the death penalty, but also as a tactical move. He could enter his plea and then wait a few years for evidence to disintegrate or become lost and for witnesses to die, move on, or retract their testimony. Once the case against him had deteriorated beyond repair, he could file a post-conviction motion to set aside the plea and secure an acquittal. At the last minute, however, Bundy refused the deal. It made him realize he was going to have to stand up in front of the whole world and say he was guilty, Minerva said. He just couldn't do it. Odontologist Richard Savron explains the bite mark evidence at the Chi Omega trial. And that's because, he left that deep bite mark in the girl's butt.
Like a dumbass.
Like he bit so hard it broke flesh, from what I understand. How do you bite a person that hard? That's terrifying. But at the trial, crucial testimony came from Chi Omega sorority members Connie Hastings, who placed Bundy in the vicinity of the Chi Omega house that evening, and Nita Neary, who saw him leaving the sorority house clutching the oak murder weapon. Incriminating physical evidence included impressions of bite wounds Bundy had inflicted on Lisa Levy's buttock, which forensic, like I said, odontologist Richard Savion and Lowell Levine matched to casings of Bundy's teeth. The jury deliberated for less than 7 hours before convicting him on July 24th, 1979, of the Bowman and Levy murders, 3 counts of attempted first-degree murder for the assaults on Kleiner, Chandler, and Thomas, and 2 counts of burglary. Trial judge Edward Cowart imposed death sentences for the murder convictions. 6 months later, a second trial took place in Orlando for the abduction and murder of Kimberly Leach. Bundy was found guilty once again after less than 8 hours deliberation, due principally to the testimony of an eyewitness who saw him leading Leach from the schoolyard to his stolen van. Important material evidence included clothing fibers with an unusual manufacturing error found in the van and on Leach's body, which matched fibers from the jacket that Bundy was wearing when he was arrested. During the penalty phase of the trial, Bundy took advantage of an obscure Florida law providing that marriage declaration in court in the presence of a judge constituted a legal marriage. As he was questioning former Washington DES co-worker Carol Ann Boone, who had moved to Florida to be near Bundy, had testified on his behalf during both trials and was again testifying on his behalf, he asked her to marry him. She accepted, and Bundy declared to the court that they were now legally married because Florida is a fucking mess.
That is so fucking weird. Like, was that just a Florida thing? That had to just be a Florida thing.
Yeah, no, it was like I just said, it was a obscure Florida law.
Yeah, but like I wasn't sure if like it was like just in Florida or if like anywhere else had ever done that, because like that just sounds like the kind of bullshit that would only happen in fucking Florida. Like, what the
That's just
fuck?
Florida. That is just some Florida nonsense right there. That's all it is.
God. Florida,
On
just
February,
as a general concept, is on meth.
yeah. Now, on February 10th, 1980, Bundy was sentenced for a third time to death by electrocution. As the sentence was announced, he reportedly stood and shouted, "Tell the jury they were wrong." This third death sentence would be the one ultimately carried out nearly 9 years later. In October 1981, Boone gave birth to a daughter and named Bundy as the father. While conjugal visits were not allowed at Rayford prisons, inmates were known to pool their money in order to bribe guards to allow them intimate time alone with their female visitors. Shortly after the conclusion of the Leach trial and the beginning of the long appeals process that followed, Bundy initiated a series of interviews with Stephen Michaud and Hugh Ainsworth. Speaking mostly in the third person to avoid the stigma of confession, he began for the first time to divulge details of his crimes and thought process. He recounted his career as a thief, confirming Clofer's longtime suspicion that he had shoplifted virtually everything of substance that he owned. "The big payoff for me," he said, "was actually possessing whatever it was I had stolen. I really enjoyed having something that I had wanted, gone out, and taken." Possessions proved to be an important motive for rape and murder as well. Sexual assault, he said, fulfilled his need to totally possess his victims. At first, he killed his victims as a matter of expediency to eliminate the possibility of being caught. But later, murder became part of the adventure. The ultimate possession was, in fact, the taking of the life, he said, and then the physical possession of the remains. Bundy also confided in Special Agent William Hagmeiser of the FBI Behavioral Analysis Unit. Hagmeiser was struck by the deep, almost mystical satisfaction that Bundy took in murder. He said that after a while, murder was not just a crime or lust or violence, Hagmeister related. It became possession. They are a part of you. The victim becomes a part of you, and you two are forever one. And in the grounds where you kill them or leave them become sacred to you, and you will always be drawn back to them. Bundy told Hagmeiser he considered himself to be an amateur or an impulsive killer in his early years, before moving into what he termed his prime or predator phase at about the time of Linda Healy's murder in 1974. This implied he began killing well before 1974, although he never explicitly admitted to having done so. In July 1984, Rayford guards found two hacksaw blades that Bundy had hidden in his cell. A steel bar in one of the cell's windows had been sawed completely through at the top and the bottom and glued back into place with a homemade soap-based adhesive. Several months later, guards found an unauthorized mirror hidden in the cell, and Bundy was again moved to a different cell. Shortly thereafter, he was charged with a disciplinary infraction for unauthorized correspondence with another high-profile criminal, John Hinckley Jr. In October 1984, Bundy contacted Robert Keppel and offered to share some of his self-proclaimed expertise in serial killer psychology and the ongoing hunt in Washington for the Green River Killer, later identified as Gary fucking Ridgway.
Your favorite. Have we talked about John Hinckley Jr.?
Not yet.
Okay, that one sounds real familiar.
I think we've mentioned him in passing, but we haven't done a full thing about him. But John Hinckley Jr. Attempted to assassinate President Ronald Reagan.
Oh, that's why I know the name. Okay, I know him from Assassins.
Yeah. He wounded Reagan with a bullet, and he also wounded a police officer, a Secret Service agent, and Press Secretary James Brady, who was permanently disabled from the shooting.
And he was the one who was trying to impress Jodie Foster, right?
Yeah, he was trying to impress Jodie Foster. and he is one of 3 attempted presidential assassins currently living that are not in prison.
He's not in prison?
No, he's not in prison.
Huh.
He was found to be mentally ill, and then he was released in 2016.
Oh, fascinating.
So, from what I understand, he lives in Virginia now. And he is not allowed to drink alcohol. He's not allowed to possess any firearms, ammunition, weapons, or memorabilia of Jodie Foster, like movies, photos, magazine articles, none of that. He's not allowed to contact Ronald Reagan's family. He's not allowed to contact Brady's family. He is not allowed to contact Jodie Foster, Foster's family, or her agent. He is not allowed to watch or listen to violent movies, television, or music. He's not allowed to access printed or online porn. He's not allowed online access to violent movies, television, music, novels, or magazines. He's not allowed to speak to the press. He is not allowed to visit the homes, past homes, or graves of the current president, past presidents, certain past or present government officials. He's not allowed to erase his computer's web history.
Dang.
Yeah.
And he's got a really great song in a musical.
But anyway.
Okay. Yes, anyway. That was going to
Yeah. So, Keppel and the Green River Task Force detective Dave Reichart interviewed Bundy, but Ridgway still remained at large for a further 17 years because, let's be honest, Bundy was loving it. Keppel published a detailed documentation of the Green interview and later collaborated with Michaud on another examination of the interview material. Bundy coined the nickname the Riverman for Gary Ridgway, which was later used for the title of Keppel's book, The Riverman, Ted Bundy and I Hunt for the Green River Killer, which honestly just sounds like a really weird, like, it sounds like a mystery novel, kind of. It's like a Nancy Drew story. Like, Nancy Drew and I hunt for the Green River Killer.
Yeah, like Nancy Drew.
No, I know what it sounds like. It sounds like a fan fiction.
Yeah, a little bit.
It sounds like a fucking fan fiction. That is what.
Yeah, like a self-insert, like, crime fan fiction.
Ted Bundy and I hunt for the Green River Killer. Ted Bundy and I arrest John Wayne Gacy. I gotta stop before I start giving those weird girls on the internet ideas.
Yeah, quit while we're ahead.
Yeah. In early 1986, an execution date was set convictions, and the Supreme Court issued a brief stay, but the execution was quickly rescheduled. In April, shortly after the new date was announced, Bundy finally confessed to Hagmaier and Nelson what they believed was a full range of his descriptions, including details of what he did to some of his victims after their deaths. He told them that he revisited Taylor Mountain, Issaquah, and other secondary crime scenes, often several times, to lie and perform sexual acts with their decomposing bodies until putrefaction forced him to stop. In some cases, he drove for several hours each way and remained the entire night. In Utah, he applied makeup to Melissa Smith's lifeless face, and he repeatedly washed Laura Amy's hair. If you've got time, he told Hagmaier, they've got anything you want them to be. He decapitated approximately 12 of his victims with a hacksaw and kept at least one group of severed heads, probably the 4 later found on Taylor Mountain, Rancart, Parks, Ball, and Healy, in his apartment for a period of time before disposing of them. Less than 15 hours before the scheduled July 2nd execution, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals stayed it indefinitely and remanded the Omega Chi case for a review on multiple technicalities, including Bundy's mental competency to stand trial and an erroneous instruction by the trial judge during the penalty phase requiring the jury to break a 6-6 tie between life imprisonment and the death penalty, which ultimately was never resolved. A new date November 18th, 1986, was then set to carry out on the Leach sentence. The 11th Circuit Court issued a stay on November 17th. Literally, like, every time it's coming up to it, the system is just like, actually, we're gonna like literally like less than 24 hours, and they're just like, actually, we're not gonna kill Bundy today or tomorrow. We're not gonna do it.
Just wait. Let's hold on. Let's just go over all of this one more time. Okay?
The stars, no good, not today.
Can't do it, not today.
That's them. Fucking exhausting. But in mid-1988, the 11th Circuit ruled against Bundy, and in December, the Supreme Court denied a motion to review the ruling. Within hours of that final denial, a firm execution date of January 24th, 1989 was announced. Bundy's journey through the appeals court had been unusually rapid for a capital murder case. Contrary to popular belief, the courts moved Bundy as fast as they could, even the prosecutors acknowledging that Bundy's lawyers never employed delaying tactics, though people everywhere seethed at the apparent delay in executing the archdemon Ted Bundy. It was actually on the fast track. With all appeals avenues exhausted and no further motivation to deny his crimes, Bundy agreed to speak frankly with investigators. He confessed to Keppel that he had committed all 8 of the Washington and Oregon homicides for which he was the prime suspect. He described 3 additionally previously unknown victims in Washington and 2 in Oregon, whom he declined to identify if he ever even knew their identities. He said he left a 5th corpse, Donna Manson, on Taylor Mountain, but incinerated her head in Klopfer's fireplace. Of all the things I did to Clofer, he told Keppel, this is probably the one she is least likely to forgive me for. Poor Liz. He described the Issaquah crime scene where the bones of Ott, Naslund, and Hawkins were found. It was almost like he was just there, Keppel said, like he was seeing everything. He was infatuated with the idea because he had spent so much time there. He is just totally consumed with murder all the time. Nelson's impressions were similar. It was the absolute misogyny of his crimes that stunned me, she wrote. His manifest rage against women. He had no compassion at all. He was totally engrossed in the details. His murders were his life's accomplishments. Bundy confessed to detectives from Idaho, Utah, and Colorado that he had committed numerous additional homicides, including several that were unknown to the police. He explained that when he was in Utah, he could bring his victims back to his apartment, where he could reenact scenarios depicted on the covers of detective magazines. A new ulterior strategy became apparent. He withheld many details, hoping to parlay the incomplete information into yet another stay of execution. There are other buried remains in Colorado, he admitted, but refused to elaborate. The new strategy, immediately dubbed Ted's Bones for Time scheme, served to only deepen the resolve of authorities to see Bundy executed on schedule and yielding no new detailed information. In cases where he gave details, nothing was found. Colorado detective Matt Lindvall interpreted this as a conflict between his desire to postpone his execution by divulging information and his need to remain in total possession, the only person who knew his victim's true resting place. When it became clear that no further stays would be forthcoming from the courts, Bundy's supporters began lobbying for the only remaining option, executive clemency. Diana Weiner, a young Florida attorney and Bundy's last purported love interest, asked the families of several Colorado and Utah victims to petition Florida Governor Bob Martinez for a postponement to give Bundy time to reveal more information. All refused.
That's fucking cute.
I know, right? The
Just,
families already
oh,
believe.
just can we hold off on this a little longer for him? Like we just
No,
want some more information out of him.
no,
But other families might
no,
want to know. But closure.
no,
Okay.
no. The families already believed that the victims were dead and that Ted killed them, wrote Nelson. They didn't need his confession. Martinez made it clear that he would not agree to further delays in any case. We are not going to have the system manipulated, he told reporters. For him to be negotiating for his life over the bodies of victims is despicable. Boone had championed Bundy's innocence throughout all of his trials and felt deeply betrayed by his admission that he was, in fact, guilty. She moved back to Washington with her daughter and refused to accept his phone call on the morning of the execution. She
Ooh.
was hurt by, I know, right? She was hurt by his relationship with Diana Weiner, Nelson wrote, and devastated by his sudden wholesale confession in his last days. Bitch, what you expect?
Yeah, right? Like, guy's a piece of shit. Like, what do you want from him? Decency?
Right? She wanted him to be innocent. She wanted this all to be like a big mistake. Oh no, he didn't actually do it. He was innocent. Oh my God. He could never. He's just too pretty. He looks too much like Zac Efron, that guy from High School Musical.
God, I just love High School Musical so much. There's no way Ted could have done this.
Seriously. Seriously. Now the final interview is it is about an hour long. So we're not going to post that, but we do have a clip from it that we are going, or we'll post the final interview in the group, but we're going to show just a clip from it right now here. And share audio, share. This is from YouTube. I still haven't figured out how to download YouTube videos yet. So if anyone wants to help me learn that, let me know.
I grew up in a wonderful home with two dedicated and loving parents, one of five brothers and sisters. A home where we as children were the focus of my parents' lives, where we regularly attended church, two Christian parents who did not drink, they did not smoke, there was no gambling, there was no physical abuse or fighting in the home. That basically, I was a normal person. Uh, I wasn't some guy hanging out in bars or bound. I wasn't a pervert in the sense that people look at somebody and say, "I know there's something wrong with them." I just tell. I mean, I was essentially a normal person. I had good friends. I led a normal life, except for this one small but very potent, very destructive segment of it that I kept very secret, very close to myself, and didn't let anybody know about it. And part of the shock and horror for my dear friends and family years ago when I was first arrested was that there was no clue. They looked at me and they looked at the all-American boy. And it happened in stages, gradually. It doesn't necessarily, not to me at least, happen overnight. My experience with, let's say, pornography generally, but with pornography that deals on a violent level with sexuality, is that once you become addicted to it, and I look at this as a kind of addiction, like an addiction, you keep craving something which is something which gives you a greater sense of excitement, until you reach the point where the pornography only goes so far. You reach that jumping off point where you begin to wonder if maybe actually doing it will give you that which is beyond just reading about it or looking at it. I'm no social scientist, and I haven't done a survey. I mean, I don't pretend that I know what John Q. Citizen thinks about this. But I've lived in prison for a long time now. And I've met a lot of men who were motivated to commit violence just like me. And without exception, every one of them was deeply involved in pornography, without question, without exception, deeply influenced and consumed by an addiction to pornography. There's no question about it. The FBI's own study on serial homicide shows that the most common interest among serial killers is pornography. Those of us who have been so much influenced by violence in the media, in particular pornographic violence, are not some kinds of inherent monsters. We are your sons and we are your husbands. And we grew up in regular families, and pornography can reach out and snatch a kid out of any house today. He snatched me out of my home. It snatched me out of my home 20, 30 years ago. And as diligent as my parents were, and they were diligent in protecting their children, and as good a Christian home as we had, and we had a wonderful Christian home, there is no protection against the kinds of influences that are loose in a society that tolerates.
So yeah, according to Ted Bundy, he did it.
Porn creates serial killers.
Porn. He did it because porn.
Porn is what creates serial killers.
Yep. Hagmeiser was present during Bundy's final interviews with investigators, and on the eve of his execution, he talked of suicide. He did not want to give the state the satisfaction of watching him die, Hagmeiser said. Bundy died in the Rayford electric chair at 7:16 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on January 24th, 1989. Hundreds of revelers sang, danced, and set off fireworks in a pasture across from the prison as the execution was carried out, and then cheered as the white hearse containing Bundy's corpse departed the prison. He was cremated in Gainesville and his ashes scattered at an undisclosed location at the Cascade Range of Washington State in accordance with his will. And when it comes down to it, Ted Bundy had a much easier death than any of his victims ever did.
No kidding.
And I think that's disgusting.
Where is the justice in that?
He's dead and can't do it again. He can't escape again. But still, this fucking idiot guy. This fucking guy.
Well, at least he's dead.
Yep, that is true. That is true. And I actually have a video, and this is taken outside of the prison right after Ted Bundy's execution. So I'm gonna share this right here. Share audio. All right.
Ted Bundy, even in death, stirred hatred. An unprecedented crowd of hundreds started gathering before dawn. It took on a macabre circus-like atmosphere. This is what you expected to find when you come out here? Folks dancing and singing.
Yeah, why not?
But a handful of anti-death penalty protesters.
It sounds more like vengeance to me than justice.
At one point, the celebration got out of hand. One man was arrested for shooting off fireworks. Until the very last moment, no one could be sure Bundy didn't have a last trick up his sleeve, a legal technicality. But in the death chamber, Bundy was uttering his final words.
All he said is, "I'd like you to give my love to my family and friends." That was Ted Bundy's last statement.
His eyes looked like he was almost a child, and his mother caught him doing something wrong. It was a combination of just being sorry and knowing that it was the end. It was the end of the line.
So it ended for Ted Bundy. 10 years, 28 confessions, millions in Florida's legal battle to end his life. Warren Ellie, Pulse 13, Florida State Prison.
They were so excited about him being dead.
Seriously, like,
except for that one guy. That one guy is just like, it's vengeance. It's not justice.
it's like, I understand where people are coming from with that stance, but at the same time, no.
When it comes to people like Ted Bundy and stuff like that, I'm absolutely for the death penalty.
Yeah, it's like, this is somebody who, if they are not, like, if they're not executed, like, it's gonna happen again. Like, he is not somebody who can be reformed.
Definitely not.
And
So
like, I
petty.
remember when Charles Manson died in prison, and like, I remember seeing, like, there was like one post that I saw from somebody who was like, I don't know who this guy is, but it's just such a shame that he died in prison before he had a chance to even be reformed, and now we'll never know. And it's like, dude, he's been in prison for like a million years.
Since 1971. Since 1971, Charles Manson was in prison. And technically, Charles Manson was sentenced to death. However, California revoked the death penalty, and then they brought it back. But by then, you couldn't give him the death penalty again for some legal reason.
Maybe it was like it's like, I know the trial had already happened, but maybe it was like a double jeopardy kind of thing.
You can't re-sentence someone for that even after they've already been sentenced or something. I don't know.
Yeah, some weird California bullshit.
Like my fight for that my belief on that is just like, it's not re-sentencing, it's following through with the original sentence, which was the death penalty. Like, I own Manson. I guess you would consider it murderabilia, but I own Charles Manson things. I am a big follower of the Charles Manson case. I have read that case story multiple times. I really want to redo that episode about Charles Manson at some point. However, even I am of the belief that Charles Manson absolutely 100% deserved to die.
Yep.
And I will never not think that. And I know that people get really mad at me for stating that. And they get really mad at me for stating that the death penalty is... They get mad at me for my beliefs on the death penalty. But personally, I believe that the death penalty does its thing. It does what it's supposed to.
Yeah, like my dad has kind of an interesting stance on it. He's like, you know, I don't know that it actually works as a deterrent overall, but it deters that one person from ever committing their crimes again.
Yeah.
It is 100% effective for that one person.
And as we know, Ted Bundy was able to escape from prison not once, but twice, and was trying for a third and fourth time.
Yeah, this was somebody who was determined to keep going.
To keep killing. No, like, he loved the attention that he got when he was like giving interviews about the Green River Killer and everything. You know he fucking loved that.
Mm-hmm.
You know it. He loved that crap.
He was basking in that.
Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. He was just like, oh, the attention. Oh my God, I miss it. And, you know, they'd be talking to him. They'd be like, all right, well, what do you think that Fucky Ridgeway is doing? Not that they knew that that's who it was. They called him, what, the River Man or whatever?
The River Man.
Yeah, the River Man. So what do you think the River Man is doing? Well, I know what I would do. I'd go back and I'd fuck that corpse like 4 more times. Because, I mean, look at this picture. Like, come on. You could still get at least 4 good fucks out of that corpse.
Oh, that affected me deeply in the worst possible way.
I apologize.
Ugh.
Those words just came out of my mouth.
You said that. You said that sentence.
I got too into Ted Bundy this week doing research, you guys.
Oh, God. But yeah, he was obsessed with the attention and just like to the very end, that feeling of control, like wanting to kill himself because he didn't want to give anybody else the satisfaction. Just like, you're so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
he is.
Oh my God.
He's fucking crazy face. He's fucking cuckoo crazy face.
Mm-hmm.
We don't stand.
We do not stand. And any of you Ted Bundy stands out there, like you Ted Bundy stands and you Ted Bundy like fangirls, like you guys need to not. Just
y'all need Jesus.
I don't even.
I'm an atheist. I am an atheist, and y'all need fucking Jesus, okay?
Just fucking hell, like
Jesus.
Let him into your heart.
Not Ted Bundy.
Not Ted Bundy.
I want to pull up another picture of him. I found this like really, oh God, this is disgusting. Yeah, this one's good. Listen, Netflix actually like released a statement and we're just like, stop calling Ted Bundy hot. Netflix did that. Netflix released a statement. And they were like, okay, so there was the movie You, and then there was, then so Twitter people were calling Ted Bundy hot after watching the Ted Bundy tapes, and like women were saying shit like, he doesn't look like the type to kill somebody. But no, shut up. No.
Just shut the fuck up. Murderers can look like anything.
Netflix posted, I've seen a lot of talk about Ted Bundy's alleged hotness and would like to gently remind everyone that there are literally thousands of hot men on the service, almost all of them who are not convicted serial murderers. And then someone replies, but he's hot though. And Netflix replied, where?
Just like, listen to Wednesday Addams. This is my costume. I'm a homicidal maniac. They look just like everyone else.
Yeah. But literally, I am with Netflix on this one. Where?
Oh.
Yeah.
God, he looks like oh fuck. He looks like he looks like President Nixon mixed with like one of those people from like I can't remember the family, but like it was a TV show that Shirley
family?
Yeah.
I see.
I kept wanting to say the Carpenters, but I was like, no, that's not correct.
The Partridge Family.
Yeah,
I love that Netflix is just like, where?
God, but do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. Literally, Netflix had to be like, you guys need to fucking stop though. Like, seriously. Here's what I want you to remember when it comes to this case and everything. I don't want you to think about Ted Bundy. I don't want you to think about him and how hot he was or anything like that. I want you to think about these women right here. Think about them. Think about the children that he murdered, because he murdered fucking children. He raped and assaulted and murdered children. So next time you sit there going, Ted Bundy is so hot, just think about the fact that the man stuck his dick in children.
There are no redeeming qualities to this man.
None. He's hot though. He fucked a child. Is that hot to you, Deborah?
He fucked a child before murdering her.
Therapy. You need some fucking therapy. He fucked her before marrying her or before murdering her, and he fucked her after murdering her. Think about that. This dude fucking admitted. He admitted to fucking corpses until, and the only reason that he stopped fucking the corpses was because they were too gross to keep fucking. If they hadn't started decomposing and decaying, if putrefaction hadn't set in, that man would have happily continued to fuck corpses. Okay? He's hot though. He fucks dead bodies. That is disgusting. And anyone who sits there and tries to defend him and is just like, but he's cute. You're disgusting too, because you would fuck a guy who fucks a dead body.
Just no level of physical attraction.
None.
Redeeming.
None.
For murdering and raping children.
None.
Just no. Nothing about that. You can't come back from that. There's no defending.
Not come back from that. There is no redemption there. There is absolutely nothing that you can say or do to make that any better. There's nothing. Nothing.
If you are one of those people who is going to sit there and try to defend it with anything, including but not limited to, he's hot though, just don't speak ever again. Just in your life.
You have lost your speaking privileges. You have lost the privilege to talk.
You do not have anything that is in any way useful to contribute to any conversation anywhere, and your opinion is not valid.
Absolutely. Completely 100% agree there, Kate. So we've spent the past 15 minutes just ranting about Ted Bundy.
And his ugly ass.
And the fact that he literally fucked children. Something that people seem to forget about real easy. Sam.
I honestly didn't know about the children.
Until we got to the case. Until you started hearing about it in the case while we were going through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will not forget that. I know now that I know it, I will not forget that.
Yep. Did Fucky Ridgway rape children too? I mean, I'm pretty sure the youngest one was like around 16, right? With Ridgway.
I feel like that's the youngest. So like teenagers, like older children, but still children.
Still children. It's honestly why I get really mad at people for like idolizing like the bad guys in movies, to be perfectly honest. Like, he's hot though. He fucking murders people.
He killed 80 people in 2 days.
He's adopted. Yeah, no, it's like all those Loki stands or like, you know, people. I mean, like with like Hannibal Lecter, I get it. The whole show's about a cannibal, you know? Yeah. And they picked like the hottest Danish actor to like play him. But like at the same time, as a real person, you would not be into him. Like,
yeah,
as a real person, no. These are real fucking people.
And like when it comes to Loki, yes, I will admit, like I am one of those, but like I know, I am fully aware that Loki is a bad person. He is a bad person who has done really horrible things. Yes, he has a fucked up past. He has had a traumatic life, but he's still a bad person.
Nice motive, still murder.
Yes. Exactly.
I really want to make t-shirts for our Patreon subscribers that say nice motive, still murder.
We might get sued by Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, yeah, that's true. No, theirs is cool motive, still murder. Mine is nice motive, still murder.
It's a fine line there. It's pretty close.
They don't have the copyright on nice motive, still murder.
Well, I mean, worth a try.
Yeah, I know. And I'm sure there's t-shirts out there that say that, honestly. Like, let's be honest.
Maybe. I honestly don't know.
Yeah. But anyways, so if you would like to see what merch we do end up coming up with, go ahead and check out our Patreon. That's patreon.com/Dakota's Beard. It's scrolling at the bottom of the screen, and I'm going to put up a banner for it right now because I'm a genius. If you enjoyed our show and subsequent 20-minute rant about serial killers and why you're not allowed to be attracted to them, go ahead and throw us a couple bucks right here on Venmo. Mine is at Dakota's Beard. Kate's is at Kate Ulrich 42. Like I said, support us on Patreon. We're coming up with some cool merch ideas. And until next week, say goodnight, Kate.
Good night, Kate.
Good night, and stop being thirsty for serial killers, you dumb bitches.
Just stop. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't quit. I will find you and I will bitch slap you.